Scully gets called away from her desk job on an assignment with another agent. They investigate a crime photographer who always happens to be ready for the shot.
When some inconsistencies arise, he becomes a prime suspect. But is he a killer?
This is not happening.
He probably is.
A killer photographer.
He's got to be a killer in... Well, is he?
I got to say, having worked in the field of photography for about 15 years...
Oh.
There are some people I can point fingers at that are definitely killers.
Really?
No,
like
absolutely. You don't want to turn your back on them, really. Get a flashbulb in the ass.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because my wife and I play a game basically on any TV show or reality show or something. We just get a vibe from someone and we just kind of look at each other and go, he's got people locked up in his basement. So I do enjoy that game.
The game that we play when we're watching police procedurals is the whodunit game, right? Because and it's always pretty easy because of the way casting works. You pay more money to actors if they actually have lines. If they don't have lines, they're called silent on camera, and you pay them way less. So the SOCs are never going to be the guilty parties because they need to have a reaction at the end when they're caught. So that limits your pile of suspects to 5, usually.
And then you whittle them down.
And then it's always like, who's the least possible suspect, because I never would have thought it was the butler,
Yeah. Or you could do it like, what's that one movie with Denzel Washington? Is it Denzel Washington? Bone Collector?
I don't know.
Where this guy, it's like 20 years old, 23 years old, whatever. But this guy's on screen for like 5 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
And then at the end of the movie, it turns out to be him.
He's the guy.
And it's like, of course. It's whatever.
Have you ever seen a movie called Sleepaway Camp?
Yeah.
And how the whodunit is the mousy girl who doesn't say anything, and they victimize her for the entire show.
You're right.
And then at the end, she turns into a psycho. It was marvelous.
Good shit. Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about Tithonus. I'm just going to say Tithonus. Or
Tithonus? Tithonus.
Titanium, the
Titanium
episode.
White. Titanium Bond.
Yes.
Bondo the villain. Tithonus Bondo the villain. Yeah, another Vince Gilligan joint here.
I was just going to say, I'm sorry to put you guys through this because we know it's going to be crap. Vince Gilligan wrote it, so it's got to be awful. Directed by Michael Watkins.
Did you check what else he has done? I'm realizing I didn't.
He didn't do much. I believe he went on to... Well, actually, let me see here.
Oh, we're going to go do that now. You're going to do your research live?
No, you go ahead. You go ahead. I had it pulled up, but you go ahead.
All right, here we go. Michael Watkins. What are we going to learn about Michael Watkins?
Well, while you do that, we have guest actors Geoffrey Lewis or Jeffrey, I don't know. I've heard it pronounced both ways for different people. Playing Alfred Fellig, the main prantagonist. I'm not really sure. He's not really a bad guy, but
he's classic.
He's not a good guy.
Yeah,
great actor. He's actually been in numerous films and television, including working quite a bit with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we had to say goodbye to him in 2015. And we've also got Richard Ruccolo, who plays Peyton Ritter, another funny guy. He's been in several things, most notably his role in Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
But he never comes back
early
to
2000s.
He never comes back to X-Files with his character, eh?
No, they get rid of him.
It's a bit of a shame because I thought maybe they were flirting with the idea of a...
I think he does a good job. I would have liked to see more Peyton Ritter.
I would have been fine. There's a writing turn on him that I'm not fond of. He becomes the jerk, and I'm like, didn't need to go there.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Michael Watkins. He did Dreamland 2.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And he does Arcadia.
But that's it.
No, in season 7 will do the sequel to Six Extinction. He does Sein und Zeit. And, Mike, he does X-Cops.
Oh,
no.
So he had more of a role than I thought.
Yeah, X-Cops is great.
X-Cops is fantastic.
Yeah. But of course, the real star of the show is Jeffrey Lewis. I mean, it's his episode.
It's very rare that we get to spend quite as much time with someone who's not Mulder or Scully. So when they do that, they pick the right people. And I think Jeffrey Lewis was a grand choice because he's so easy to watch. He has this way about him that's I believe everything he says, first of all.
He's almost as good.
Yeah, he is this character for this episode. I think it's really good.
He's almost as good as Peter Boyle.
Almost. It's kind of hard. Hard to top that one. And I know what you're doing.
Favorite episode. Yes, you see I sliding into that little plot.
Yeah. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
I do want to say this episode is notable not simply for being good, but for perpetuating a quasi-serious theory that Scully is herself immortal. This was first referenced, since we're there.
All right.
First referenced in Clyde Bruckman's. She asks him how she dies, and he simply smiles and says she doesn't, much to her chagrin. Now, then we get her cancer battle, which she miraculously survives. Rewind to season 2. Yeah. Rewind to season 2, and she miraculously lived there, too, after she was being abducted and almost dead.
Yep.
She gets shot here, spoiler, and even though she's supposed to die, spoiler, she doesn't. It's a fun theory that apparently Frank Spotnitz confirmed online or with fans or something, but this is supposed to be kind of like the bookend of that theory. We never get the yes, she is, no, she isn't angle. I'm glad they didn't fucking bring it officially into the show because it's fucking stupid. And I'm okay with fans having theories and, that's kind of cool. They allude to it, but they never really give it any thought outside of that. But it's too big. I want my agents to be people. They don't need to be heroes of God and Satan, and it's just too much. I would stop. I've got complaints about season 9, and they do something similar with Mulder, and it's like, they're going too far.
Yes, he becomes the protagonist of the universe, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, come on, let's not do that. So I'm glad they did not do this officially.
It's the classic problem you get with seasons of a television show where you have to raise the stakes with every season.
Mm-hmm.
At some point your objective for the characters may be to save a kidnap victim or stop somebody from getting killed. And then it's to stop a bomb from going off. And then it's to stop a thermonuclear bomb from going off. And then it's to stop the aliens from invading and killing everybody. It's like, you can't just go back to kidnap stories after you've done it, because then it becomes boring.
And that's fair. I don't need Scully to be immortal. And I'm glad they didn't officially say it, because if they officially said it, I would have to wrap my mind around it somehow.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like movies and television where there are comics or fan books. Like this is written in the universe of aliens. Unless it's in a movie, it doesn't exist to me. I know people are the other way around where they incorporate everything, but it's too much sometimes. It's like, I only buy what is in the movies, and this is what's canon for me. So because they didn't say Scully's immortal in the show, I'm happy with that.
Well, but realistically, and we've spent 10 minutes on this, so imagine.
I know. I'm sorry.
No. You're absolutely right. But here's the thing. You rarely have a TV show where they are anxious to kill off their main protagonists. I can't really think of one. And usually it's not about killing them off. It's about them being transferred and bringing in a replacement actor for that character. They even do it in X-Files when Mulder decides to take a pass. So I don't care if she's technically immortal. Like, functionally, they don't write her in any situations where she's truly going to die. I mean, that wouldn't be the point of the show, right?
Yeah.
It's not that kind of show.
Not that kind of show. Well, what do you say we get started?
I think we could go on a bit more about Scully being immortal if you want.
I mean, it's never-ending life, so never-ending discussion, I'm sure.
The debate continues. But no, I'm ready to talk about Tithonus.
I encourage, one last note, I encourage our listeners to right on the page. Email us hateful things if you disagree with me or Andrew. I'd love to hear your opinions, honestly. Like, am I in the minority of being against this quasi-real arc? But I'll leave it there. So let's get started, Andrew.
As well.
Well, Andrew, it's nighttime in New York City. An elevator dings in a tall skyscraper office building, going down. The doors open and a beautiful female mail courier steps off, leaving a few men and women behind. An elderly man helps her get her cart over the lip of the doorway. She proceeds down the hall, delivering envelopes to various doors and departments. It's after hours, so the office building is pretty dark and quiet. As she nears the middle of the hall, she senses someone watching her. In the distance, by the elevator, the old man who helped her off is there, standing, watching, putting on a clinic on how to be an absolute creep to unsuspecting women. She turns back to her job, anxiety beginning to take hold. At first she continues on, but at an accelerated pace. She turns a corner, kneels down, and feigns checking something in the cart for another reason to look behind her. The man is still there. He clumsily checks the floor legend on a wall as if to play dumb. Her face betrays her fear. She stands and continues to the next elevator, pressing the arrow a few times. Thankfully it opens, and she scoots in with her cart amongst more suited people. She can breathe a bit as the doors begin to close. But as they shut, a hand stops them, and in comes the elderly man, much to her dismay. The man stares at the now closed doors, and he sees his fellow passengers reflected, but they're all in black and white against his coloring. The elevator arrives at another floor, and surprisingly, the elderly man steps off, but he doesn't walk away. Instead, he turns, tucks his satchel under his arm, and stares at the people left on the lift. The door closes. The courier sighs in relief. Cut to the elderly man zipping down flights of stairs as fast as he possibly can. The lights in the elevator flicker a bit, metal creaks, and the passengers become alarmed. Suddenly, the cables give way, and the elevator begins to drop, people falling to the floor. The elderly man continues down. He arrives at the basement elevator door, pulls out a camera from his satchel, and waits. Slowly, the wind in the chamber picks up, kicking dust up and blowing in his face as he stands ready. The screams of the passengers slowly grow into a massive crash behind the door, which damages the door itself. We hear the camera flick and whine, turning on. The door slowly creaks open, an arm falls out, motionless. He begins snapping photos of the victims, all lifeless before him. With a cold resolve, he takes black and white photo after black and white photo. Credits. So that took a turn, Andrew.
You missed one very important detail I think it's worth mentioning.
Oh, please
His
share.
push of the button for the 17th floor.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest dick move ever. I mean, come on. These people are going home. And he's like, I'm sorry, I just need to push this button. Boom.
Well, yeah, he is being kind of a jerk. But like I said, he's putting on a clinic on how to be a creep in this episode.
He's all sorts of jerk.
Yeah. He just sweeps his hand down the buttons when he leaves.
I half expected that, actually. Yeah, I had... Okay, it had an interesting... It was one of the more interesting pushes that we've seen so far. I don't know how fast you can run down the stairs from the 17th floor. Do you think you could get there before an elevator could fall to the ground? You're actually thinking about it. I like it.
Well, no, I don't think that he got there faster in the...
No, he did. He was waiting for it to show up.
He did. I know. I understand. I know he beat it. We just have to be okay with the fact that the elevator didn't start braking until he was almost there. I don't know.
The way they have edited it together, it definitely looks like it is, going down and down.
Pretty quick.
He's outrunning it. I mean, he's got some super strength powers as well as immortality. And
I'm actually more impressed that he ran down the stairs, if you want my honest opinion. He looks absolutely. A little beyond those years.
and totally breathless when he gets to the bottom. But I'm still stuck on him, like hitting all the buttons.
Good stuff.
This elevator has a 13th floor. I thought that was interesting because they had somebody push 10, another person push 13, and that makes the 1013 of the production company. Bravo. But I question why he's there at all, because it's so out of place with the MO that we set up for him later in the show, that he is just there when death occurs. Like, why isn't he just waiting at the base? Because he knows that's where the death is going to happen. I don't understand.
I don't think he does.
He needs to be creepy.
I don't think he does. To get into it, I know further on they go on to explain a little bit. He doesn't know what's going to happen or when, but he catches a glimpse of someone and they have the look of death on them or whatever you want to say. So my guess is he saw her first, got it, and then when the doors closed behind him, he realized everyone was going to die. So he assumed that the elevator was going to fall. Because he doesn't know, he's not supposed to know how it happens. So I don't know what building this is or why he's there, but for some reason my head is like, okay, he caught a glimpse of this girl earlier on or something before the episode started, and she looked like she was going to die. So he just chases whatever lead he can get. That's kind of how
that's fair. I mean, it's a fabulous opening in and of itself. It's just when you look at it in the lens of the rest of the episode, it kind of stands out as it doesn't make sense in comparison to the rest of the episode for me. But
that's fair. Fair enough.
Okay.
Well, we come back at the FBI bullpen. The agents are working diligently amongst their peers. Mulder, a bit more relaxed than he should be, but he's working. As they deal with their routine phone calls, they sneak jokes at one another. Scully asking if he wants to quit, and Mulder saying no, that would simply make too many people way too happy. Scully gets another call and hangs up. She's been summoned to Kirsch's office by herself, which bums Mulder out. As she arrives, Kirsch is reviewing a case file.
Dana Scully, it's Agent Peyton Ritter with the Bureau's New York office.
Agent Ritter? Hi.
Sure, what you have?
Well, our office is currently updating its case filing system. While I was involved in this project, scanning old crime scene photographs into the computer, I came across this.
Margarita Stoller, age 57, cause of death, an overdose of nitrous.
Take a look at when they found her.
A neighbor called the police at 11:14 p.m.
So, what's wrong with that picture?
Clock says that it's 45 minutes earlier. Now, a clock can be wrong.
They certainly can. So, I checked the post from the following day. These are straight from their photo files.
Almost an hour and a half later.
Right. 2 different negatives, same photographer. Guy's name is Alfred Fellig. He's rattled around Manhattan for years. Apparently a stringer for the wire services and on-call guy for NYPD.
And you suspect this man Fellig? You think that Mrs. Stoller wasn't a suicide?
This guy's into taking pictures, right? So I'm thinking, what if he poisons this woman, then gets his jollies by snapping a few of her dead body, then winds up back in the same apartment an hour later after Midtown North calls him over to do the job?
His theory's strangeness is not lost on Scully, but he seems very sure of himself and claims he may have done it on multiple occasions. He hands her a file of photos and different cases. Combining the time of day against the few photos in the folder, these other cases are looking very suspicious. Scully notes the causes of death: a suicide, heart attack, a murder where another man was convicted. This hardly points to foul play of one individual. There's no consistent anything. Ritter asks for help, and Kirsch dismisses him from the office to speak to Scully privately. He compares his promising career to what Scully once had. He thinks, with her expertise, she would be invaluable to Ritter's investigation. She makes a quick but fruitless attempt to include Mulder, but Kirsch shuts her down. He's a lost cause. I'm taking the chance that you are not. Do not let me down. Delicious scene, Andrew.
Wow.
Delicious.
It's like he knows he can split them up. He can divide and conquer.
Kirsch, despite his antagonistic role, excellent here. I love it.
And I think it's because Scully is more hot than that Kirsty is being influenced by his big D. His AD, as it were.
Assistant Dick. Assistant Dick Kirsch. Oh, boy.
I have a bit of an issue of Agent Ritter looking over this homicide. I get that there is some project scanning crime scene photographs and that he is just, tenacious and attentive enough to see, hey, wait a second, there's something in there. But Mike, this is a New York homicide. Why is the FBI involved?
Because
that is all I needed. Thank you. Let's move on.
I don't know. Maybe his friend works at the local precinct and he just happened to show him a photo and he didn't realize that something went wrong. Maybe Ritter's like, whoa.
I like it.
Did you notice this, Bill? And he said, no, I didn't. You should ask, your higher ups. See what happens.
You should take it to the FBI crime lab and see if they've got some foxy redhead who can sort you out.
So would it have been better if he was just a local officer? And he's coming to the FBI because he's seen a few of these cases and he's not getting any help from his detective.
Well, as I say, I think they were teasing out the idea of a Mulder replacement because it's no secret that David Duchovny was thinking about, season 6 was going to be his last. So I feel like this was an audition for the old Peyton Ritter. And they were like, let's see if we can get a little bit of chemistry going here. Maybe we got something.
Let's make him shoot her in their first case together. They're going to become best friends.
They'll be besties. It'll be fine.
Look, we're going to laugh by the end of this. We're going to look back on this. It's going to be just a humorous footnote.
You know what's missing is the serial angle of it. They could have engineered a bit more. There's this clue that links this file to this file to this file. Which he's kind of done by saying, these photographs taken by this guy, there is a time discrepancy, but it's pretty weak sauce. Like, again, how does he have access to this in the first place? Because it's not the purview of the FBI to investigate these cases.
Right. Fair enough.
My point has been made.
Well, we go now to Pacific Street in Brooklyn. A bus pulls up to a stop on the busy street and people shuffle off. One in particular, a man with a beanie, steps off, coughing. Down the street a little bit is Felig, who watches as the man, in black and white now, is crossing the street. The man continues into his apartment building and sets down his lunchbox to check his mail slot. He's sweating, uncomfortable. He glances outside the door window and sees Felig watching him. Suddenly, he clutches his left arm and begins struggling. A classic heart attack. He collapses down, and Felig steps into the complex. As the man coughs and wheezes, he begins photographing, snap after snap. We hear the unmistakable sound of pants unzipping. Just kidding.
What? It's not this episode. It's the next episode.
No,
I'm surprised.
But how awesome would that be?
But yeah, that would be a different episode. I'm surprised that he didn't bring out his defibrillator and lube it up and go clear, which would actually be appropriate in this case.
Yes, it would. But that's why they didn't bring it out, Andrew.
No, he doesn't know how they're supposed to be used. His heart's still kind of acting weirdly, thus the defibrillator would be of no use.
Yes.
Okay, so what they're doing is they're saying that Felig has some power to make people die. I get that. That old Joe Lunchbox here had a full life ahead of him, but then he saw Felig and that was it. That's kind of what they're implying.
I never got that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe
he's just looking so mean there, just watching the guy as he's about to have his heart attack. It's bad news, man.
It is bad news. Bad news. Well, back at the FBI, Mulder is looking at crime scene photos that he has hacked into. He has been nosing around the case that Scully has been asked to assist on, convinced it's an X-file. She walks in and tries to ease his worrying about the splitting of them. Mulder points out, but if she does a good job, they're not going to stick her back down here with him. something she can't bring herself to argue with. Ritter comes in to collect Scully. She casually walks over to Mulder's computer and clicks off the photos so he doesn't see. The two men shake hands and make introductions, but the two are quick to exit to start their case. I gotta say, Andrew, I am pretty proud of Mulder in this scene. He actually smiles. He shakes Peyton's hand. He's cordial. If this were season 2, he would have just ignored Peyton's handshake like he did Krychek. I think he's growing.
Well, no. I think in this case, it's not about the X-Files. Because that was the point of contention with Krychek, is it's like,
right,
what are you doing? You know, you're on my turf here. I don't think Mulder even cares now, because he's like, yeah, welcome to the background check room. So sorry.
True. Well, we go to 15th Street Precinct. Felig's case slaps onto the desk of the clerk. They want to know about him, but there's not much to know. He is one of many people who have an obscure job. He snaps pictures, keeps to himself, not much in the way of personal information. Scully asks for the original background check file, if possible, and we cut to them, her and Ritter, flipping through documents in the back. Renewal dates going back to 1964. He's an old man. Scully keys on something, though. She grabs as many folders as she can carry and lays them out. As she slides them one by one, we can see Felig's photo attached to each one. Very little about his appearance changes, dating all the way back. She can't believe it. Peyton comments on his appearance as always being a geezer, but feels this may be a dead end. Do you have anything to say about that? Was that surprising to you?
Well, it is a classic case of a scientific vast improbability. And they're going to just walk right by it. Or at least Ritter is. And this is a guy with an eye for detail. You know, I'm surprised they decided to write him oblivious in this moment, because he's clearly not. You know, to get to this point in the investigation, he is determined and dogged to see all of the clues. Mm-hmm. And yet when faced with this impossibility, that his picture in 1964 looks exactly the same as his picture in 1999, well, he's just a Dick Clark. No.
Yeah. It's tough because there's one argument that I can make about the X-Files is that they paint everyone in a certain brush where if you're a believer, you're a believer. If you're not, you're not. So he is obviously in some capacity against the X-Files. So he just doesn't see or the idea that there could be something larger at play here doesn't cross his mind. Yeah. He just rejects it outright. So that's what he's doing.
Well, it's not that he I'll give him that he finds an explanation that works and moves on. He doesn't do the old, oh, you're crazy, you know, if you think that this guy is some alien who's image hasn't changed. I mean, everybody can have this face that just doesn't change. They want to move past it very quickly, and that is my issue with it. Is it's a plot shortcut that has obvious significance to us, the audience, but the characters are being asked to push past it very quickly.
Yeah. It's now 2:18 a.m. 2:19, excuse me. On the wet streets of the Bronx, right. People will just crucify me if I don't get that right. On the wet streets of the Bronx, a man runs for his life. We know it's the 90s because of his light-up sneakers, although they are nearing the end of their run. He's calling for help. He dodges a car and trips over garbage cans as he tries to hide in the darkness. He takes a moment to lose the shoes. Good call. Under a fire escape, he looks up for an escape route, only to find Felig peering down at him with his camera. Felig follows him, but then loses him. With the whine of his camera turning on, he snaps a picture of an alleyway to reveal any secrets. Nothing. He hears a clicking sound behind him and slowly turns. The man he was chasing has a pocket knife and attacks Felig, brutally stabbing him in the back. He brings Felig to the ground and stabs him a few more times, steals his camera, and flees. Felig lies motionless on the ground, but begins to twitch after a moment. He strains to reach the knife on his back and dislodges it. Slowly he rises to his feet, apparently uninjured. As he walks away, he leaves the switchblade in a pool of red blood. Ooh. It's that time, everyone. The Magus Media Production sales pitch. Please check out our homepage at magusmediaproductions.net so you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Check out our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Magus Media Productions, both of which have our Discord link on it, where you can join us for live shows as we record them for future release. At Magus Media Prods on X, our Patreon, patreon.com/Magus Media, where a $5 donation will help us keep the lights on and bringing you new content, and you get some stickers. Thank you for your consideration and support.
Mike, that is not a switchblade.
Whatever. I'm painting a picture. Painting word picture for the audience. God damn it. I corrected myself on 219, but no, you can't let this one go. God.
No, it's only...
Okay, Peyton Ritter.
Eye
for detail.
I only wanted to point out that it's a butterfly knife, which is very late 90s.
It is very late 90s. Face Off, anyone?
It's very much a creature of its time. But of course, the big takeaway is that old Felig here is unkillable. It was 6 stab wounds later, and he just gets up and kills it off.
That's a violent scene.
That's the burying the lead part here. Is yes, he can know when people are about to die, but he's undieable.
It was a cool moment. This was like, oh, okay, so there's something more to this guy other than photographing in black and white people as they're dying. So it's a great twist, great added information. So I'm very excited about that.
I'm just now making the link between him seeing the people that are going to die in black and white, and he shoots black and white exposures too. Mm-hmm. Very classy. But I don't know what they're trying to say about that, other than he's obviously being honest to what he sees. You know, he wouldn't shoot them in color because when they die, they're in black and white.
Yeah, very well. The next day, it's a crime scene. Scully has bagged the bloody knife. The prints are Felig's. Ritter is giddy, thinking he's got him nailed and commenting on his sloppiness. The agents are interrupted, though. They've found Felig at home, and he's being brought in. We go now to the interrogation room. Felig comes in slowly as Ritter is setting up the audio recording device. Scully lurks in the shadows, uncomfortable with Ritter and this whole thing. Felig sits and speaks into the microphone, thus beginning the interrogation.
Hello.
You're a photographer. Seen some of your work. You specialize in some pretty dark subject matter. You're around death a lot. It must fascinate you. Am I boring you, Mr. Felig?
Ask me a question already.
All right. I want to know how you always happen to be Johnny on the spot every time somebody dies. You're always there to take the picture. How does that happen?
I have a nose for news.
Mr. Felig, your fingerprints were found on a murder weapon at a crime scene. Could you give us a full accounting of your activities last night?
The Bronx. I was on the job. Saw some jabon stealing a kid's tennis shoes. He chased me. Ran off.
He ran off. Some unidentified murder.
I guess I could identify him.
Your fingerprints were found on the knife. How did they get there?
He left the knife behind. I guess I touched it briefly.
Why would you do that? Were you injured, Mr. Felig? You seem to be in pain. Were you attacked? We found other blood at the crime scene, and when we have it tested, I'm wondering if we're going to learn that it's yours.
I got cut some.
May we see?
I got cut some, like a paper cut.
Just a little bit. Well, Felig rises and begins taking his button-up shirt off. His back turns to Scully. Underneath, he has a white tank top on, and there are several blood marks in the form of knife slits in his upper back. Scully lifts the undershirt to reveal 6 or 7 stab wounds. He's moving pretty well for a man who's just been attacked so violently, Andrew.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Almost as well as what's his face who takes a shotgun blast and is up and walking around.
I should have Lazarus. I should have thought of that before writing my next comment, which is essentially they're walking past this one too with these 7 stab wounds on his upper back. It's like I know Scully's a doctor. She's done her fair number of autopsies. You think she would identify those as stab wounds from the very knife that is in front of them?
I think it's possible.
And based on that, would she not go, I think those are wounds that should have killed you, sir. I think I'd like to examine you further.
How are you not dead?
Can you answer me one more question? How are you alive? Because really, I think you should be dead from the you got cut some comment that you just mentioned.
Part of me, and I totally agree with you, but part of me was wondering, she's obviously uncomfortable. She knows kind of where she's being manipulated by the FBI right now to possibly get taken away from Mulder, but she still wants to do a good job. But she's being partnered with a guy who obviously does not believe in this shit. So she's kind of watching her steps. I think it's believable in that she doesn't want to just jump to the X-File thing right now. She's trying to maintain this new relationship for whatever point, professional point. She needs more information, I think. So that's just where I go with it. She's just kind of feeling him out.
I appreciate your point of view.
I disagree.
No, I just look at it like, what a gross oversight for Scully's character to just be like, wow, what a thing, We're just going to march on to the next scene now, please.
Oh, that's great. You're stabbed 7 times. Wow. Cool.
I mean, the obvious solution here, and I know they've done it because Vince Gilligan's taking a page from Howard Gordon's book of, turn it up to 11. We get to see the reveal of the stab wounds, and he's just fine. But the solution is when she says, "Can we see it?" He says, "No, I'm not going to disrobe for you."
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, I guess we've got nothing to hold you on. You've answered our question satisfactorily, but let's move on. But to have it presented to you so obviously, it's just like,
yeah,
no, I don't believe she is that stupid.
I take your objection. I've heard it. That's fair.
Okay, it has been noted for the court. It
has been noted
for the record.
Entered into the record.
Entered into the record. Maybe considered at deliberations, but maybe not.
Well, Ritter dismisses Felig to an officer to have his blood work drawn up and to check on those cuts. He shuts the door and begins having words with Scully. He's confused, Andrew. He thought they were looking for reasons to bust Felig, not let him go. Scully's retort is simple and effective. I thought we were looking for the truth. And he leaves in a huff. Back at the FBI, Mulder calls Scully for an update on the X-File. She begins to deny it, but then lets it go. He's been nosy, and he found out about Felig's stabbing. They were able to pull prints from another man, Malcolm Wiggins. His story seems to check out so far, and Scully's at a loss. Felig is an unusual man. Mulder deciphers her cryptic words and means that he plugs up like a cork when you stab him. Ritter has been sending Kirsch updates with mostly nice things to say about Scully, and Mulder's been intercepting them. He offers here to do a background check on Felig.
I'm still reeling from the written stupidity of Scully.
Well, don't get hung up on it, sir.
No, I will move on eventually, but what a whopper. Come on.
All right. Later that night, it's 1:30 a.m. Or 1:53. There I go again. Getting the times wrong.
We almost never have.
We don't do the
timing in the legends of these episodes.
I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah. So that night, Scully's walking down the moonlit street. She gets into a sedan nearby. It's Ritter. He's staking out Felig's apartment, and she has come to relieve him. He hasn't seen him move in 4 hours. As Ritter leaves, he tosses out his coffee and wishes her a lovely evening. She scoots over to the driver's seat and begins reviewing old case photos. A distant clicking catches her ear, and she looks up at the apartment nearby. She sees a dark window and some movement inside. It's Felig, taking pictures of her in the car. She lets out a scoff and shakes her head.
I can tell you those pictures are going to be shit.
I was waiting for you to come up with some photography knowledge for us for this episode, so I'm eager to hear what you have to say.
Well, all right. I mean, he's using a film camera, and the lenses are not new lenses, so they're not going to have a great aperture. Mm-hmm. He could be using a high-speed film, like 1600 or 3200 even. Probably 16 is the max you would get in 99. So doing a little quick math, unless he's got a tripod and he's doing some long exposures, which guess what? He's not, because we got click, 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 click. I guarantee you the pictures are going to look like, it's dark. You might get some street light stuff, but you're not going to get Scully. You're going to get a person in the car. Yep. Maybe in the dark room you could push it up a bit, but no, I'm sorry. Garbage. There's a reason he uses a flash.
Yes. And arguably, this is the one scene he really needs it.
Well, even then, they're separated by about 30 or 40 feet. Not going to do a thing.
Nope.
You know those you see concert footage and people are taking pictures with their phones?
From the grandstand.
A sea of little lights going off or whatever. Every one of those pictures, black.
Right.
Or the person in front of you, but nothing else.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we cut to her knocking on his door. He opens, and she puts a picture in his face. Explain this. He claims to not remember it. She confronts him with the facts. He has a long history of being the first person on the scene of deaths and covering up that fact. She asks him to explain himself. Until he does, Andrew, he will not get a moment's peace. And without a word, he turns back to his apartment and grabs his satchel. He asks her to take a ride with him. He will show her everything.
I'm excited to the next part of the scene. I'm ready.
It's an hour later, Andrew, and they are driving in Felig's car. It's been quite a while, and Scully's getting a little bit annoyed. This is what he does, she says. He drives around looking for the shot. When she inquires which shot, he reiterates, the shot. He stops. Down the street a ways, he sees a hooker standing on the side of the road. There. He names her as going to die. Her image to us is black and white. It's as plain as day. Could happen in the next minute or the next hour, but she will die. Scully's defense mode kicks in. I don't know what you're planning, but no one here is going to die. He begins pulling out his camera. I'm not planning anything. I'm just here for the shot. The how is always a surprise, Andrew. It could be anything. It's at this moment a John walks up and begins harassing the woman. She obviously is uninterested and tells him to get out of her face. Felig switches on the camera, the unmistakable whine escalating. As the situation continues, Scully makes the choice to get out of the car and run to the woman's aid. She holds the man at gunpoint and cuffs him. Without a thank you, the hooker simply says she's out of here and steps into the road blindly. Out of nowhere, the deep blaring horn of the tractor-trailer sounds. The hooker spins to see as lights cascade over her. She is unceremoniously mowed down in front of Scully. She can't believe her eyes. She looks back to Felig, who is in his car. He starts it and drives off.
Wow, what's missing?
What?
What's missing in that scene, of course?
What's that?
We don't see Felig take the picture.
We don't.
Which I think would have been the capper of just he's by the car, snaps his picture, gets in, drives away. I had a few issues with this from a writing perspective. I mean, what Vince Gilligan is saying in this moment is that people are fated to die, and that Felig's power is that he knows that somebody is fated to die at a certain time, and the means is immaterial. Like, you can stop her from being killed by the John, but it'll be this, and if it's not the car, she'll fall into an open manhole, or a piece of freeway will fall off and hit her in the head, but the character is going to die. And in a way, it's good foreshadowing because of the reason that Felig has not told us yet about why he is doing what he's doing. Yeah. But I kind of wish that they had spelled that out a bit more, and that he had spelled that out a bit more. It's like, he kind of alludes to it. He says, it might happen the next minute, it might happen the next hour, but it will happen. And when she gets out, here, the simple fix, you can't stop it.
Right.
You
I mean, the explanation is a little bit of a slow burn. They do save that. I mean, they don't even come out and just say it. In a way he does at the end, but not really. But yeah, I think that is something they chose to keep obscure for, I guess, for fun, for the audience to kind of figure it out. But I hear your point.
But it's always look both ways when you cross the street, people. I mean,
that truck came out of nowhere. We didn't even hear it in the background. I think it would have been better if we heard it in the background.
That would have been a nice bit of foreshadowing. It'd be like in the time travel episode where the bus is literally driving along and the
bus.
Wait.
Yeah.
That bus is going to do some killing.
Yep. The next morning, we're at the precinct. Ritter is pissed. Scully brings in the John she apprehended so he can get checked in. Ritter accuses her of blowing off the surveillance, but she corrects him. It was blown before she got there. He presses her on what happened, and she explains sternly. She confronted Felig, but unless there's a Good Samaritan law passed, there's no way they're going to get him for murder. But Ritter disagrees. They found Wiggins. He's in the interrogation room. Felig killed the kid, and this man just happened along and had to fight for his life. Scully notes Wiggins' status as a convicted murderer, and we're accepting his explanation for this. But he brushes it off, saying he was afraid to come in and that no one would believe him. And she doesn't mince words. Wiggins is right. No one would believe that story. And then she directly asks Ritter if he helped Wiggins concoct it. Ooh. She is accusing Ritter of being foul.
She is impugning the name of Agent Ritter, Special Agent Ritter.
Oh, man. He's a bastard.
Yeah, he's a bastard. All right. But this is where he turns, isn't it? He's the whole Kirsch warned me about you thing. And I'm like,
yeah, he tries to reassert his dominance here. And Kirsch warned me about you. I should have seen this coming. He threatens her insofar as saying, if you mess this up for me, so help me. He says it without saying it, but
you know what he does? He pulls a Colton.
He does.
We haven't talked about Colton and the scale, the asshole scale of Colton for a long time. So
he's getting up there.
I put it to you, Mike. More asshole or less asshole than Colton?
Less. I will say less. Without a doubt.
Because it has been, for sure.
At the end of the day, I still kind of like Ritter. Colton, I can't. I can't.
No, he gets off on the wrong foot and stays there. Whereas Ritter, at least, we've seen his good deeds up till now, and he's been an okay guy, and even Mulder likes him, so of course we like him better than Colton. But anyway.
Well, Scully ends this conversation, and Mulder calls.
Yeah.
All right, hey, Scully. How's that X-File coming? Before you tell me that it's not an X-File.
It is.
What happened?
Alfred Felig seems to know an awful lot about death.
Oh, yeah, well, that's not surprising given that he's reached the ripe old age of 149.
Excuse me?
I did a little low-tech background check on him.
This stuff is so old that they don't even keep it on record on the computer, but Alfred Fellig doesn't exist before 1964, but one Henry Strand does.
He applied for a press pass from the Jersey City Police in 1939
At the age of 53, his prints match Fellig's.
But Mulder, there must be some kind of a mistake.
You think? Because this Henry Strand
Does not exist before 1939. However, one L.H. Rice is on record as having sat for the New York State Civil Service
exam. Now, the records don't show whether he passed or not, but
his thumbprint, Fellig's.
want to know what
L.H. Rice's birthday is? April 4th, 1849.
I'm not good at math, but I'm figuring that's a whole lot of candles on the cake.
I have spent time with this man, and he can't be more than 65 years old.
I think that's what he wants you to think.
Now, we're talking about a guy for whom the phrase
Life in prison carries some seriously weighty connotations.
I think you should get to him before he vanishes
And becomes someone else.
Whoa, nice.
I love his remarks in this scene. That's a whole
The
lot of candles on the
life in
cake.
prison.
Yeah. Life in prison makes some weighty connotation.
Oh, that's a good one.
Good shit. Good shit. I love Mulder, and I love this scene. They're working together. Similar to Drive, you get that aspect of them working the case together, even though they're
definitely
apart.
drawing from the same book there. Yeah.
Yeah. Outside, it's daytime. Fellig approaches his apartment with his satchel. When he arrives at the door, he is surprised to see Agent Scully leaning against the wall, waiting for him. She informs him he will be arrested and charged with murder in 2 hours. He doesn't seem too worried. She chastises him for his lack of empathy for the victims he photographs in their time of need. But he doesn't feel sorry for them. The truth is, he's envious. He calls each of them lucky, but he shouldn't be charged with murder. He doesn't take those people. He does.
Oh, here's our twist.
There, in his apartment, Fellig disappears behind the curtain to another room. She follows. He shows her a photo of the elevator victims, all dead, sprawled about. The young woman from the pre-credit scene stares lifelessly at the lens of the camera, and just above her face is a discoloration, an aberration that looks like a wisp. She asks him if he believes that's a photo of death itself, and he does. This is the closest he's gotten in years. This is the elusive white whale of a shot that he strives for. She tries to dismiss it as a lens flare, but he shuts her down. Scully wants to understand his position. Why would you do this? He coldly states, so I can look into his face, so I can die. Lord knows he's tried committing suicide. Pills, slashing his wrists, drowning, nothing works. He doesn't want to be here anymore, and he can't remember a time when he did. Despite her light protest to the contrary, he says she does believe him. That's why she's here. She can't argue with that. Looking around his apartment, she sees albums of photos of deceased people. You chase it long enough, and you start to pick up what to look for. The photo she keys in on is from 1926 of a dead woman. She excuses herself for a moment to another room and shuts the door to call Mulder. Quietly, the two discuss the names he's used, and she tells him to look up one more, Louis Brady, the name on the photograph from 1926. Fellig listens into the conversation and hears her reiterate the name. At the end of the call, she comes out to find Fellig out of sight. She goes into the dark room, and he bumps into her, appearing from the shadows. He passes her and slyly snatches her cell phone from her coat pocket and turns it off.
You old devil.
At the FBI archives, Mulder searches through rows of books and albums, records dating far back. He pulls open an old album of cases and comes across some older open ones. As he flips through it, he sees it. Louis Brady, and it's Fellig. As he researches the file, he sees that Brady is wanted in relation to a double murder in 1929. He hurriedly grabs his cell phone.
Ritter.
Agent Ritter, it's Agent Mulder. Is Agent Scully there with you?
No, she's not, nor do we seem to be able to find her.
Me neither. DC Cellular says her phone is turned off.
What can I do for you, Agent?
Well, you can find her for me.
Listen, Agent Mulder, I'm on my way to arrest Alfred Fellig.
Good, because that's where I think she is. And you were right. Felig is a murderer. Under the name of Louis Brady, he suffocated 2 patients in a Connecticut hospital. He says he meant to catch up with death. 1 year into his prison sentence, he walked off a work detail. The manhunt never officially ceased.
When was this?
1929.
Whoa, when?
Look, Ritter, don't sweat the math. It's him. Just get there and find Agent Scully.
All right, I'm on it.
Back in Felig's apartment, Scully casually talks to him as he mills about. She says most people would want to live forever, but he shudders at the thought, calling most people idiots. His argument is painful. It speaks to a man who has lived far beyond his time, someone who has long lost any joy from his existence and his surroundings. 75 years is enough life to Felig. The longer you live, he says, the more you feel like you're missing out on something. What does everyone else get to experience that he doesn't? Scully mentions love as a reason to live, but love is fleeting. He was married years ago, and now he can't even remember her name. As he continues doing stuff, he glances at Scully, who is in her head, taking a moment to stretch her neck. He's shocked for a moment. When we see what he sees, Scully is suddenly in black and white against a colorful backdrop.
She's going to die.
She's going to die.
She's going to die. We're writing Gillian Anderson out of the series now.
She's done.
Wow.
She asks him why he is this way. She needs proof of what he's speaking of, some science that makes this possible. As he prepares his camera, he talks. It has nothing to do with science. Someone took his place. A nurse took care of him when yellow fever plagued the streets of New York. He can't remember her name. Did he even know it? He was in a contagion ward. His fever had him delirious, but it was then that he saw him, just out of the corner of his eye. Death's shape flitted about the room, taking person after person. He never saw his face and assumed if he did, it would take him too. The nurse did the best she could with the patients, sitting with them, helping them. She genuinely cared for all of them, including Felig, because, well, they were on their deathbeds. Eventually, he saw death coming for him. He squeezed his eyes shut in fear of being taken, passing out. His cowardice wished she would look at him instead. When he came to, his fever had broken, and he saw that they were carrying her out in a yellow sheet. He looks at Scully. Be careful what you wish for. Then he turns to her. You're very lucky. You know that? It's here, Andrew, that Scully's spidey sense goes off. She tells him to speak his mind. The scene escalates with him avoiding her questions, telling her to accept her fate. She's going to die. Make your peace with it. He flicks on his camera, and she demands he turn it off. She cuffs him to the table in the room. He tells her he's coming. I'm going to say that differently. He tells her death is coming.
That doesn't make it any better.
Whatever.
Big D is coming.
The big D is coming.
Yeah.
Outside the room, they hear some crashing. Scully is behind Felig and looks at the curtain. As it slowly opens up, we see the brightness of the adjoining room's sunlight. She shields her eyes. Felig stands and lifts his camera slowly with one hand. In steps Ritter, gun drawn. He sees Felig raising the camera, mistaking it for a gun, and fires a shot.
He did mistake it for a gun. He knows
that's
what it is.
That's the only reason.
You read in whatever you need to read in to make it make sense for you. But Ritter is just an a-hole.
He's just an a-hole.
He just wanted to kill somebody today.
He wanted to kill the photographer. He hates photographers. You guys would not get along.
Listen, Agent Mulder told me that you were guilty of a crime from 1929. Therefore, you deserve a bullet.
You are automatically guilty.
Yeah.
I'm going to say he thought it was a gun.
You're very charitable.
He fires a shot. It blasts through the lens of the camera into Felig's gut. He drops slowly to the ground, revealing Scully behind him. Ritter looks up to her, but her demeanor is odd. She's just standing there. The expression on her face is pained disbelief as she slowly slides down the wall to the floor herself. The bullet pierced through Felig and into her as well. Ritter frantically goes to her aid. He doesn't know what to do. He presses her wound, checks her pulse. He jumps up to call for help in the other room. The two victims lie on the floor together. Felig begins to jolt a little bit, slowly lurching back to life. He looks up, blood pouring out of his camera, which is clutched to his wound. He removes the strap and picks up another smaller camera. He looks at... Is that an Instamatic?
I'm not sure what one that is. It might be a small Leica.
I labeled it as an Instamatic. I wasn't sure. But anyway,
right.
I totally ruined my own scene.
Keep on, man. The emotion is strong. You're getting there.
He looks at Scully, still black and white, struggling to breathe. He puts the camera down and asks if she can see him. She can't muster any words, but she looks dazed. He tells her not to look, to close her eyes, and she slowly obeys. He's comforting her, hand on hers. Then he looks up, past the camera. He sees it. His eyes turn from surprise to gratification. He leans back slowly, eyes rolling back in his head, and passes away. We go now to the hospital. Scully's in bed. Ritter is there visiting with her as Mulder peers in from outside. When Ritter exits, Mulder calls him a lucky man, and without a word, Ritter leaves. Mulder goes in to see his partner. He holds her hand. The coroner says Fellig died of a single gunshot wound. That's it. Her doctor, however, says she's making one hell of a recovery, the fastest he's ever seen. She feels a bit foolish having believed Fellig for a time. No one can live forever. She doesn't know how she could believe it. But Mulder disagrees. He thinks Fellig would have. And that death really only looks for you when you seek its opposite. The two exchange a prolonged look, and we fade out. Credits.
Death only looks for you
when you seek life, apparently.
That's a real clunky ender. I mean, I know they're going for something weighty to cap it off with, but yeah.
All right, Andrew.
All right, you want it?
I sense it.
Here it comes.
Here it comes.
Interesting episode. I guess we don't expect anything less from Vince Gilligan. Take the Tithonus fable and extend it. What would happen to the man who lives forever, doomed to know the imminent deaths of those around him? What would he turn into? It is a very interesting character exploration, if a bit tenuously introduced, but it does leverage a few features that have worked well in previous X-Files episodes. Our protagonists separated, with, in this case, Mulder looking longingly from the sidelines as Scully investigates in an episode here. It's an X-File. That's what it is. It's totally an X-File.
Yeah.
The real star, of course, is Jeffrey Lewis playing Alfred Fellig. The episode really doesn't work without him, I think. Just the right level of crotchety is not super sympathetic. It is not Clyde Bruckman.
Yeah, you don't feel like you want to know him better.
Yeah.
He's just this side of asshole.
Yeah. He's run out of personality like 50 years ago.
Right.
But it's hard not to compare the two episodes because Scully's paired with an older actor who is able to forecast the moment of someone's death. But we don't fundamentally like Alfred Fellig in the same way we liked Clyde Bruckman. And the ending is much more violent than the tender ending of Clyde Bruckman. With Clyde's power, you could explain it with psychic phenomena, but with Alfred, it's magic? Not really even necessary to go into. It's a good episode, but it definitely pales in the shadows of Clyde Bruckman.
Good stuff. I really like this episode. I think it's very, very well done. Big fan of Jeffrey Lewis. I think he did a fantastic job here, as did Richard. I had to check my notes. I apologize, Richard, if you're listening. I do really like your character, Peyton. And this was a fun diversion. It's a nice change of pace for the way season 6 has been going. But also, it adds an element of a new character that maybe they could be part of the show and maybe not. Obviously, they chose not in the future, but
yeah, he didn't get enough ratings.
It's a fun character. I like him. He would have been worth revisiting. And aside from everything I said at the beginning of the episode, I'm not a believer in the Scully's immortal thing, but I do like the way this episode plays out. I like that nothing is explained. It's just, this happened to this guy and it transformed him in some supernatural way. That's fine with me. I don't need an explanation. But what I really like is that they get away with not showing you the bad guy. And it's this perception of what's going to happen. It's not, they revisit something kind of like that in season 7, but we don't get fancy special effects. We just get some color correction. And that tells us everything we need to know. So a lot is communicated here with very little, and I think it's pretty effective in this episode.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Do I need it explained? No. I mean, going into it, you figure out who this guy is and what his deal is. Again, I look at that opening credit sequence and I don't understand it in context with what we learn about him going later. It's almost like they're two different episodes. And I think that they do write in that way. Like they write in a sense of what is going to be a good teaser for this episode. What is going to, really bring in the viewer. And it was a great opener, but it doesn't sit well with what we learn about the character later. Like he doesn't rush to be part of the action in any other scene. He's very much on the outside looking in, but here he's literally, tailing the woman as she delivers mail, and he's in the elevator with her. Do you want to talk more about the Clyde Bruckman angle, or is that all played out? Because I know you had thoughts on that.
Well, I think my biggest concern or complaint was just the fact that people had, and it's not that people believe it, whatever, that's fine. I don't care. But
just the living forever thing. That's
really all that's really all I didn't care for, is the idea that is possibly canon. I choose not to believe it. Whether or not Frank Spotnitz confirmed it, it's not in the show, so I don't care.
Well, it's not his episode either. I mean, it was written by Vince.
Well, so. he wrote it, but they were trying to work together in a way to bring the idea of immortality to the screen again. So Frank Spotnitz did have a hand in this somewhere, and I love Frank. I think he does great work. I think he does a great job at reeling in Chris Carter. I just don't care for that idea that Scully is actually immortal. I want my characters, my heroes, to be of this planet and very much humans, because I think it gives them more strength that way. Like if they're superheroes, then they're superheroes. And why do I care?
Yeah.
Leave that to the comic book
they have to be vulnerable, or else you, the viewer, don't feel like there's any risk to them.
Exactly.
It's like a Steven Seagal fight scene. You never really believe that Steven Seagal is in any actual danger.
Very true. Very true. So I think that's just my biggest thing.
Yep,
but
that's fair.
Did we have any comments? I don't think we did on this one.
We did. Another one from Liza.
Oh.
Where she says, Tithonus is a wonderful episode. The photographer is just so creepy. Something about his simultaneous detachment from and obsession with all the deaths. He's like the malevolent version of Clive Bruckman.
No.
Nice in-episode callback too. The fact that he might only be malevolent seeming rather than actually villainous somehow makes him even scarier. He's much less dangerous than Donnie Faster or Pusher or Toombs, but for some reason, he freaks me out more than any of them. Well played. Really?
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Well,
great comment.
I don't think that Fellig, freaks me out more than any of those guys. I never got malice from him. I got him as vulnerable, actually, and just sort of kind of mentally checked out from everybody else's life.
I will say he portrays his distaste for life very well.
Yeah.
Comes off in a way that he is just spent. He doesn't care about anything he shouldn't care about. And he has this one goal in mind, and that is to end his own life.
Yeah. I find death again.
Yeah, he's believable in that sense. He's crotchety. He's angrily. He doesn't have time for anyone's stupid questions. Yeah, he'll play by the books and go to the interrogation, but he's really got better things to be doing. So, yeah, good stuff.
I question Scully's wound in that they make a big deal about her being at death's door, and then ultimately she's not. But the bullet went through another person and a camera before it entered into Scully. So unless Ritter is using armor-piercing rounds, I picture that that bullet wouldn't do a whole lot of damage. I mean, this isn't exactly like you shoot and you get 2 people for the price of 1.
Yeah, I guess I would not know the science behind the proximity of where the gun was fired and how much meat it had to pass through to cause damage. I don't know that. I'm not the person to ask for that.
Yeah.
I do know it's quote unquote possible to shoot 2 people with 1 bullet.
Oh, sure.
I've heard it's possible. I don't know that. So I can believe it. That's all I need, I guess.
If that's the case, Ritter, one hell of a shot.
We have him on all of our assignments that require guns.
We do.
We've saved so much money on ammo this year.
He gets his money's worth out of ammo. If we're talking about agents I'd like to see coming back, I mean, I liked Ritter, and yeah, I thought that they were flirting with the idea of him coming back, but I would have loved to see Kinsley and Stonecipher come back.
Yeah,
I mean, I know they're comic foils, but I thought they were a little bit better fleshed out than Ritter was.
That's what they should have done. They should have done Kinsley and Stonecipher, and Ritter would be the guy that just, he's the straight guy. He can't be bothered with any of their shenanigans. But he's their boss.
Yeah.
Kind of like Psych, where you've got the 2 goofballs and you've got Lassiter, who has to work with them, but he has no time for it.
He's got ambitions for higher career objectives, and these 2 stoneballs keep on dragging him down.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a show I'd watch.
I'd watch that. Let's write it.
We'll pitch it.
Coming in 2027, if America has not exploded, will be this show.
Even odds there. Well, I think that's probably pretty good, eh?
Yeah, I think we're good. Thank you, everyone, for joining us both live and on the podcast. And we will talk to you next time when the mythology finally, Andrew, kind of comes to an end. So stick with us next time for 2 Fathers. Andrew, if you would like to say goodbye, please do so.
Everybody, thank you for spending your time with us, and have a lovely rest of your day.
Wanted in relation to a double murder in 1929. He hurriedly grabs his cell phone, and I'm going to use this scene.
All right, let's see. Oh, no, this isn't the right one.
That's the wrong one.
Hold on.
No.
There we go. No, here we are. It's got it. Here we go.
Should be Mulder on the phone, I think.
3540. That's what you got in your message.
3450 to 3539.
Goodness. All right,
Andrew.
Well, listen, it's been great up till now. Jesus Christ.
Andrew,
all right, here we go.
God.
Are you ready? Here it is.
I'm ready.
Let's get there
Ritter.
and find Agent Scully.
All right, I'm on it.
All right. Well, I'm assuming that's where you want to go to.
Yes. Although the weight of that was completely off now.
You know what? You can edit that in post, and it'll sound amazing.
Whatever. Well, thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.